could hear the blaring of horns from a mile away. Ships anchored, waiting. Trucks snaking down Apapa Road, motionless. To Lagos Port, Nigeria's gateway to the world had become a bottleneck of global proportion. Welcome to Tales of Logistics, the podcast where we decode the past, the present, and future of global supply chains through gripping real-life events. As always, I'm your host Odiche, and today's Customs Cut Part 2 is another voyage to one of the most bottlenecked ports in Africa. It was 2020, the same year the world battled the pandemic. But in Nigeria, another crisis was unfolding quietly, one that had nearly collapsed regional supply chains. At the heart of West Africa's trade stood the Lagos Port Complex, including Apapa and Tinkan Island ports, both in Lagos, handling over 80% of Nigerians' imports. But by late 2020 and early 2021, these crucial arteries were gridlocked. Containers were stuck. Importers were bleeding costs. And the chaos didn't just affect Nigeria, it had ripple effects across West and Central Africa. But what was responsible for this, you might ask? The Lagos port congestion crisis wasn't caused by one issue. It was a perfect storm of events. Poor road and aging infrastructure in Apapa and Tinkan axis crippled truck movements, with 90% of cargo arriving at the port were transported by road. ENSA's protests in October 2020 further blocked road access. Then we had the COVID-19 protocols that delayed offloading and customs clearance. On top of that, we had chronic lack of automation and manual container handling that led to a series of backlogs. Finally, there were port operators who had reached their breaking points, so much so that some vessels waited over 30 days to anchor. The result? Well, the average freight cost from China to Lagos was $3,500. But the average cost to truck that same cargo or a 40-feet container out of the port for a 20-kilometer road to Lagos mainland was $4,000, an extra $500 more than it would cost you to bring freight from China to Lagos. And all of that had a ripple effect on the regional supply chain for real. To start with, fast-moving consumer goods, or FMCG, and farmer import logistics were deeply disrupted. Not to mention the demurrage that soared on delayed cargo, and perishable foods or goods like milk, like medicine, and food expired at the port. Product stockouts became nightmare since Nigerian retailers couldn't restock shelves, triggering abnormal price hikes on available commodities. Even the international trade with China got delayed as importers from the Far East rerouted through Cotonou in Benin Republic, causing costly additives and extended lead time. At last, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry estimated that the truck congestion alone had resulted in $1.65 billion in losses in customs revenue and $6.9 billion in lost corporate earnings. Sad. But then, how was this fixed? With all of this chaos that we've seen or heard about so far, how was it controlled? Well, first of all, the Nigerian Ports Authority, or known as NPA, launched an electronic call-up system, ETO, in February 2021. The ETO is a scheduling app to manage truck entry and truck exit. They also began port digitization efforts by automating clearance, manifest submission, and vessel tracking, a drastic turnaround from the manual container handling that usually led to backlogs and delays. Additionally, the Presidential Port Task Team decisively cleared illegal checkpoints and hooligans that usually cripple the truck movements from the already poor roads leading into our Apapa and Tinkan ports. In the aftermath of all of this, businesses, supply chain, and logistics professionals began working on nearshoring, risk diversification, and multi-route planning. How? For starters, they started making use of inland dry ports through other cities like Kaduna, Ibadan, as well as Port Harcourt to divert cargoes far away from Lagos, Nigeria. Importers also began using less than container load, or what we call LCL shipping, to avoid container delays. Even large multinational firms like Nestle and Unilever built deeper local inventories to avoid disruptions in the future. Also, distributors, logistics coordinators moved to multimodal transport, the use of rail plus truck to bypass Lagos. So from the chaos down to the control, what lessons have we learned from this Lagos port congestion? First, diversification of port infrastructure is non-negotiable. Digitization, automation, and proficient port professionals are key in customs, cargo, and port management efficiency. Lastly, private sector collaboration with government agencies is essential to logistics resilience. Yes, a port shutdown in Nigeria might not make global headlines like the Suez Canal, but for West Africa, it was just as disruptive. The Lagos congestion crisis taught us that logistics isn't just about moving goods. Logistics is also about moving economies. That's it for today's journey on Tales of Logistics. Don't forget to subscribe, and if this story grips you, leave us a review or share it with someone who's into the behind the scenes of world global commerce. Until next time, keep those supply chains moving and the stories flowing. Thank you.